Hi guys, this is Robin with Weight Loss Apocalypse, bringing to you another clip from a session I had this morning. This client is really struggling with self-esteem issues, especially when it comes to her as a mother. So the first half of this session, we're talking about the her issues with being over controlling and maybe being a hover parent, and she feels very much so criticized by her father or her mother, one of those relationships, and how she ultimately feels the need that she's not doing parenting right, and her son, who is now 3, 4, she's recognizing she's incredibly controlling over him and how that's impacting him. And then the fact that she feels the need to do it and feels inadequate, and just out of how her own parents are approaching her. So we're talking about this, especially since, she's the same age I am. We're part of the X generation, and how we're parenting in a culture that is radically different than the culture we were raised in, and it's continuing to evolve very rapidly. So how we're parenting is very little to do with how our parents parented, especially since the culture is nowhere close to what it used to be, and our lives are not as easy in terms of money, and it's just so much different. And how do we develop a sense of ability and sense when we have our own parents criticizing us, telling us how sucky we are, while they live in retirement and they have no idea what reality looks like? And so in this, I'm really trying to give her a sense of ownership around doing what she feels is right based on where she's at, and recognizing that it's unfair, or even it's just unrealistic to follow a parenting style that has nothing to do with her son. Anyways, I think this is a real relevant conversation to our generation, the younger generation, and those of you who are in the older generation who are no longer parenting but want to really give us your opinion. So it's kind of a brutal little part of this conversation. So those of you who don't want to hear, and that you're probably not a best fit for today's current parenting environment, those of you who are older and retired, you don't need to watch this, because I'm really just pointing out that you're inadequate to today's reality because you haven't evolved within it, so. And I fully admit I'm not doing that great of a job. I'm doing the best I can, and I don't even know what I'm doing. So who are we to judge? Anyways, all right. Well, this just gives you insight to some of the work that I do with people isn't just necessarily about body image or their eating issues. A lot of it really comes down to the underneath issues that surface, as we work together. If you would like to watch the entire session, I will be posting it today on the Patreon account. The link to join and support Weight Loss Apocalypse is below. If you would like to work with me, you just need to go into the website that I have down below, go to the consult request form, fill it in, send it in, and I should get back to you within the hour. So, all right, enjoy. My daughter is like, oh, I always ask, who's the most, in your group of friends, who's the most risky? Who's the one that's like boy hungry? And it's her daughter,
Yeah.
She's the most strict, the most controlling parent.
Yep. Oh my gosh, yeah.
And wow. She's not judgy. She's not a judgy person. She's just super fear-based. Super fear-based.
Yep, that's how I do this too. Oh my gosh.
Well, and you're inflamed. I mean, look at what you're doing. Look at your internal environment that you are with just yourself. Right? So if you're not relaxed within yourself, if you don't feel safe independently with yourself, there's really nothing you can do. You're going to project that outward.
Yeah.
Don't criticize yourself. Don't feel bad. It makes a whole lot of sense to me that if you're carrying this psychological kind of torment, why you would be inflamed and magnifying the detriment of everything around you. It's kind of coming from your own personal inflammation with yourself.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, my husband even says that to me. Why is everything so, such a disaster? Or,
Catastrophizing
why is everything so
it?
negative? Because I'm just like, oh my God, here's this. Oh,
That's your state of consciousness. That's just where you see and perceiving everything. That's telling me your level of survival is really under. Everything sucks. You're looking for, everything is confirming that it's not good. You know what I mean? That's kind of like a way of thinking about things that comes from that state of consciousness, if you want to look at it that way. So, that's why I'm like, don't feel bad as you change. But the thing is that the way you feel within yourself, with yourself, socially, ultimately, you are, if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel good, if you don't feel confident, can you see why you would be trying to feel better about that by being controlling?
Yeah. Yep.
That would be a natural tendency for anybody, don't you agree?
Yeah.
If you felt like this, why wouldn't you do that? Like, those two go hand in hand. It's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. I'm feeling insecure. The desire to be secure would require control. That's how the brain, that's how the ego secures itself, is through trying to create a predictable environment. Can you see then why you would have a hard time with a 3/4-year-old?
Yeah. Oh, wow, yes.
And it's not him that's the problem. He's normal. He's a good, normal kid. It's you that needs the perfectionism. So you're in your need for perfectionism within yourself. You're projecting that onto a 3/4-year-old, and he's going to internalize it as, I suck. There's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. That's how it passes down to the next generation.
My poor baby.
I want you to turn that towards yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not pity, but to go, oh, this is ridiculous.
I know.
I'm living tortured. This is torture. But for what? Why be so tortured? We could look at what is the cord, the root of your being tortured. If we eliminated body image from existence, what's left? That's a main cord. I would put a lot of money on that if I could bet. Of it, right?
Yeah.
For me, I had religious issues. I had family pecking order issues, right?
Yeah.
And I also had personal awareness issues, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the personal awareness one really probably was the main seed, right? So the religious issues were family oriented, and my family hierarchy, whatever. But so look within yourself, and you could say, well, if you were to, one way to do it is to go blind, right? Get rid of the fatness. Go blind in your mind.
Yeah.
So if we erased the physicality of the body from importance. We're not changing your body. We're just removing the importance of it. It's irrelevant. Is there anything left in terms of you feeling that threatened in your security?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing that comes to me is like feeling rejected kind of by my parents.
Okay, so for what reason?
Well, the one is the parenting, and then...
So your parents think you're not parenting properly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Jesus Christ. So they're really kind of are they like outwardly critical of you?
I might be projecting it.
Okay. All right. So that's important to know.
I was also talking to my older son about it this morning, and he was, saying that he feels that way too.
About what?
About them, like what he's needs from them.
Oh, that they're critical?
Yeah.
So
So
here's what we have to understand is that they clearly believe. So if it's true, we could be wrong, right? Again, you could be projecting and your son could be buying into your projected.
yeah.
Okay, so just go into the assumption that your projection is true and let's resolve it. So what?
Yeah.
So
really?
what? I'm sorry, but 1970s is very different than 2017. Totally different. Totally different culture. I mean, it would be like saying when they were in the 1940s and 50s being raised, compare that to the 1970s. They would go, oh, totally different. Well, of course.
Yeah.
So going into the 2000s and now we're into 2017, we don't know what we're doing. I mean, there is no reality that we were raised in that still exists today.
Right.
Well, the earth is the same, riding a bike is the same. School is different. Education is different, which is great. It's a good thing. All in all, everything is so much better.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so the other thing is the older generation, what we have is night and day better. Right?
Yeah.
And there's always a learning curve to how things progress. So as there's a learning curve, it gets better. And the problem with people who are not in touch with reality anymore is they seem to have their own ignorant assumptions about how we should be doing it.
Wow. Yes.
And I just want to say, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't say that, but I just said it now and it felt really good. Oh, that older generation needs to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're talking about. They have no idea. My mother-in-law on multiple occasions has been like, it's so sad that you guys they don't do the Pledge of Allegiance. I was like, well, where are you getting your information? They say the Pledge of Allegiance every day. It's like they just believe what they hear. They're not involved. They have no idea what's going on. And how incredibly amazing the education is compared to when they went to school.
Right.
And the amount of knowledge we have access to as parents. They had nothing. I mean, we're talking about the generation that created the diet industry. Should they be telling us?
And still going with it.
Oh,
Still rolling with it.
Yeah, so should you give them credibility to tell you at some point you just have to recognize ignorance in your parents and forgive them. They don't need to know how ignorant they are. They don't need to know how they couldn't survive as parents today. Because you can't buy a house like you did in the 1980s.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't just make money like you did. It's kind of hard. It's not like easy. It was easy for them. That generation is the narcissistic generation.
Wow.
They think that it's the millennials. No.
Yeah. That's what my older son was saying. He's like, when that generation is blaming the millennials, it's because they don't want to take responsibility for the way they raised the millennials.
Correct. And I'm not saying that it's just like, just get in your own goddamn lane. You're old and you're not capable anymore. So get over.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're talking about. Stop making decisions. I know, but you can't. Right? Because they're supposed to be so much wiser. It's like they've never been in this environment, nor did they ever raise anybody in this environment. And we're figuring this out as we're going. You're judging us from the outside?
Right.
Shoo fly. Anyways. But I'm telling you, I'm talking to you right now because I'm in the same environment you are. And what you're experiencing from the baby boomer generation, there's some great things coming out of that generation, but a lot of the problems that we're living in right now is caused from that generation. That was the generation of total narcissism.
Wow. Yeah.
The diet industry, the whole superiority, religious supremacy. I mean, go into every part of our culture and programming. And you can see it came after World War II, and then it just is like major downsides to how the system runs because of it.
Wow. That's
the
interesting. Yeah.
mass amount of mental health problems.
Yeah.
So our generation's actually fixing the issue, creating industries, talking about it. We're the ones that suffered everybody has suffered, you could say. I mean, that generation suffered in a different way. You know?
Yeah.
A lot of compassion for my parents, what my mom and dad went through, and all that I have compassion for, but when it comes to parenting, they need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're talking about. So you have to be able to give them grace, right?
Right.
It's like,
oh my gosh.
If only you were in reality, but you're not. You're retired now, and you got to buy your house for $20,000, and it was paid off 40 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're going to tell me how it's supposed to work now, and,
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I'm so glad I could talk to you about that, too. It's like, that doesn't pertain to that part, we're going through with the body, but yes, it does. Paul Frapp does.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, what you're going to need to do, and whatever, I think everybody has to go through this in their life. My parents had to do it. Your parents had to do it. We all have to get to a point where we're aware our parents are no longer really reliable for certain things.
Yeah.
That you're more reliable than they are. It does not mean that your parents, again, my parents are incredibly wise. My in-laws, incredibly wise. When it comes to certain things, I am better off relying on myself. Not because they suck. I'm not going to define them that way, but because I'm far more aware than they are.
Yeah.
I am more integrated in reality than they are. They are retired. They are no longer in the school systems. They no longer are actually in the mix of jobs and working and being an entrepreneur and paying your bills and I don't have dental, and, they've got their retire. You know what I'm saying? How am I going to pay to get my son's teeth filled? It's got to come out of pocket because I don't have dental insurance. And okay, I still owe $7,000 in medical deductibles.
Oh, wow.
Even though I have insurance, but I can't afford anything because I still paying. But they don't get it because back when they had kids, it cost $20 to get a filling, not $200.
Exactly. Wow.
So you see what I mean by like, you're in reality. You have to give them the grace of not being in it.
Right.
And you know what? When our kids have kids, we are going to be at some point disconnected from reality. You just have to trust that whatever my children do with my grandchildren, they're going to do the best they can with what they're aware of within the system that they're assimilating to. Wow. Having an opinion about it isn't going to change anything.
Yeah. Wow.
So get comfortable with who you are and what you're doing. You're doing the best job you can. You can't do better than that. If you knew something better, you'd already be doing it. And you have to, on some part of this as well, you have to understand your children's ability. So, that often is not given credit. That's what we didn't get credit for. We could look at our generation and our parents to some degree. Like for me, being raised in such religious radicalism, you are incapable without this religion.
Yeah. Oh, wow.